listening to Operation Self-Reset with Jake Naraki. Now it's time to reset your life. Hey guys, and welcome back to Operation Self-Reset. I am Jake Naraki, and this is the one and only place to change the person you are to that person that you strive, that you crave, that you just know that's inside, and you just need to let that person or thing or idea or emotion out there and just kick butt in life. And that's the thing that we're trying to uncover today. So, my true fans out there, I do appreciate you guys with the emails and saying, Jake, where the heck have you been? And I appreciate the wake-up call because I have been super busy, and like anybody, it's August here, and you're enjoying the warm weather, you're hanging out with friends and family and things like that, and to be honest, I have just not had the time to put aside and make a podcast, but that is why I want to check back in with you guys and say that I am back on par, dedicated to helping you guys change your lives, because I know how challenging this process can be. I know the issues that arise, the things that you want to figure out, the just everything that kind of compiles upon yourself when you are trying to figure out the best way to tackle life. And that is what I'm trying to do here today. So last time we caught on up, I was asking about feedback on time management. And I actually am currently still in the process of researching different ideas and tips and ways to get more out of our day. So before I share tips on the subject of today's podcast, I want to tell you that these tips are not mind-blowing. These tips are not Russian spy, super secret, CIA operative level secrets and or tips. These tips are KISS tips. And if you know what KISS stands for Keep It Simple, Stupid. So the backstory on the KISS method for these tips is because a lot of you guys have been emailing me, and I really, really do appreciate it. I personally want to try to get and reach back to every single email that I get. You guys have been emailing the heck out of me, and I'm loving it. So it's going to take me some time. And if you guys listening right now have a question, feel free to email me at support@operationselfreset.com. I promise, I will get back to you. I will answer. I will help you the best I can. And just let me know what's going on with you. That's all I ask in return. And so a lot of you guys have been asking, hey, Jake, you know what are some things that I can do right now? You know what? I love the podcast. I love the interviews. They're very inspirational, motivating. What are some things I can do today? And that is where I'm kind of starting with these tips. These tips, are very good. They're fundamental because when I was struggling personally, when I was trying to figure out who I was and, why did I wake up on my birthday feeling sick to my stomach? Why did I feel like I was missing something? I couldn't figure it out. I just didn't know. But throughout my discovery and throughout my time of, learning and researching, these were a couple of things that I picked up, and I implement a lot of the tips that I say in this podcast to some of the related interviews that I had on this podcast. But in reality, these tips were founded kind of when I was discovering myself. So they are very simple, but yet they have a great outcome. They can really help you just do something a little different. I'm not saying all these tips are going to apply to every single person listening to this podcast, and next thing you know, you're going to be worth millions of dollars and owning your own companies and flying around the world. But these little bit and tidbits, are valuable to myself, and I think you guys will find some value in them also. When I was younger, my father would always tell me to read these biographies on successful people, and I would always be like, what does this book have to tell me about life? This guy's dead, or, this doesn't make sense to me. This doesn't apply to my life. And he goes, Jake, just as long as you get 10% out of something, it was worth it. So if you get 10% out of these podcasts, I can truly say to you, it will be beneficial. And that goes towards everything, not only this podcast, and, to all the other podcasts you listen to the magazines, to the books, to the newspapers you read, and also to the people you talk to. They might not be in the same interest as you. You might find them corny or weird or crazy, but you know what? We can pick up just tips and points and ideas from everything everything that is surrounding us. So the key is just to take a little bit and try to implement it into our own life. So it sounds like this could be a little mini podcast in itself, but let's dive into today's content. So the first tip is something that I truly believe can really make or break a day. And tip number one is waking up refreshed. Well, to really figure out how to wake up refreshed, we got to figure out how long should we sleep, right? So you guys, as I know, have heard, sleep 4 hours, sleep 8 hours, sleep 10 hours, get the most sleep you can, go to bed early, wake up early, all that crazy stuff. But the one thing that I have found, this is like the golden ticket. I mean, this little piece of information is unheard of. It's never been documented before, except on this podcast. So get ready. Silence, please. Prepare yourself. Here it comes the answer. The answer is however much time you need to feel refreshed. Yeah, you're probably thinking that is silly. Ian, you're probably saying some other words besides silly, but that's okay. So I want to dive into this a little more. Just interviewed a gentleman called Dave Asprey. He does the Bulletproof Executive. You guys can find him bulletproofexecutive.com. He's a very interesting man. He does a lot of research when it comes to chemical imbalances in the body. He tries to figure out the best way to kind of tap our circuit board, our mind, to figure out how to get the most out of it by taking pills, by drinking bulletproof coffee, by sleeping less, by being up more, all that crazy nonsense. And there was a study that he did. If you actually sleep between 4 and 5 hours a night, you can gain an extra 10 to 15 years on your life of living, of being awake, I should say. So that's not saying like, well, if you think you're going to die at 85, you're actually going to die at 100 because of this study. No, it's just saying you're awake more as opposed to sleeping more. And that sounds interesting, right? You're thinking, wow, think of all the extra things I can do in 10 to 15 years, right? I mean, good gosh, all the crazy stuff you could think of. Let your mind go wild on that subject. But so when I really started diving into this subject of how much time do we really need to sleep, I read that and I was like, oh, that's so cool. It's really interesting. But as I realized, when I was starting the podcast here, I was still working a full-time job. My wife was going into labor. She wasn't going into labor, but she was, we were getting prepared, the house getting in shape and stuff like that. And soon after our child was born, I was continuing to pump out these podcasts. And I would have to stay up very, very late and wake up very, very early to help out with the child and all that stuff. And literally, I was probably getting between that 4 and 5 hours of sleep, per night. And probably some nights were less just because of the way that our boy was waking up. And at first I was like, wow, this isn't bad. I drank my cup of coffee, I, worked out, I was eating healthy. So I really had good energy throughout doing this. Well, it lasted for about 3 weeks and then I crashed. I had like the flu symptoms. I had a splitting headache. I was totally wiped out. I was useless. And that started at when I woke up at like 6 a.m. and it didn't stop until the following day at 10 a.m. Now, how good was that system that I had? Did I get a lot done? Yeah. Did I get a lot of progress on the podcast and progress with, getting the house in shape and the progress of helping out my wife and preparing our child? Yes, I did. But how good was I when I was out of commission for 24 hours plus? Not good at all. I wasn't helpful. I was laying there. I was more of a burden to her, trying to, figure out, well, should I get away from the child? Is this going to be contagious? Is he going to get the flu? All that crazy stuff that comes along with being sick with the newborn. So it's one of those things I realized, well, that's way too little of sleep for myself. I need to improve on that just because I know the consequences. I know what happens if I don't get my normal amount of sleep or my quote unquote standard amount of sleep. So I started testing a little bit on myself and I would, go to bed really early. I'd go to bed at like 10 o'clock. I would try to wake up, as late as I can. Obviously, having a newborn, this isn't a really true dedicated study. So results may vary. But I realized now that's too long, So I started to go to bed, later and later and later by 30-minute chunks. And I personally realized that my optimal time to sleep, there are times that I'm waking up with the child and stuff like that. So, between 6.5 hours, give or take, a little bit of disturbance there in between in the evening. But I know personally that is my optimal time to sleep. And so the thing when it comes to sleeping, and you can read about a million different ways. You can buy pills and you can put devices on your face and, that Band-Aid that goes over the bridge of your nose that allows more oxygen in to get you in that REM, cycle quicker, sooner, and, sleep faster or whatever. But I know my optimal time to sleep is about 6.5 hours. And so I know if I go to bed at whatever hour, if I go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, I know I need my 6.5 hours no matter what. Will my schedule get thrown off a little bit? Sure. So what I'm trying to say is that you guys listening right now, try practicing on yourself. If you go to bed, or if you're on your normal routine right now and you always wake up just exhausted and you're just, I can't believe I'm going to work today. I can't even keep my eyes open. You need toothpicks to put them in there, to keep your eyelids open. I wouldn't suggest doing that. So there you go. That's my little tip with the sleeping. Try it out on yourself. If you feel that you wake up really exhausted, try going to bed a half an hour earlier, or vice versa. If you wake up and you feel like you're really just overtired, well, then stay up a little longer or adjust your schedule on either end. That's just something to try out. I know we get in these routines and it's tough to break that routine because we're so used to, we stay up at 10 o'clock to watch the 10 p.m. news, then we go to bed at 10:30, we wake up at 5:30, but I still feel really groggy on it, just ridiculous. Well, the key is maybe adjust that. Try to break that habit of going to bed at a certain time. You can put your kids to bed at 8 or 9 o'clock or whatever time you put them to bed. You should try doing that to yourself. Try dedicating and saying, this week I'm going to try getting 7 hours of sleep this week and see how I feel. Again, it's going to take time for you guys to adjust. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But you will get little glimpse early on, wow, I do feel good. I don't feel tired at the afternoon or anything like that. So try it out. Let me know how it works. If it doesn't work for you and you hate it and you're like, this was the biggest waste of time, just don't come over to my house and wake me up during my sleeping period because I need my optimal 6.5 hours, okay? So there you go. So that's with the sleeping. Now let's talk about waking up, okay? Now there's a lot of devices, there's a lot of ways everybody wakes up different. We hit the snooze button again, we go in that deep sleep, we hit the snooze button, it felt like 2 seconds and you're just like all flustered, and that's not a good way to start your day. So I want to also challenge you not hitting the snooze button. What? Well, then what is it made for? Well, yeah, because the snooze. But really, do you think the extra 8 or 9 minutes or 10 minutes, however that snooze button is timed, is that going to make or break your day? Probably not. It's actually probably going to throw off your day because as soon as you hit that snooze button, your body instantly goes back into that deep sleep cycle and then it gets awoke again with that very high-pitched noise, whatever it may be. So there you go. Just make sure when that alarm goes off, get on up. And you're probably thinking, Jake, what does this have to deal with resetting my life? Well, to be honest, everything that you do has a reason behind it. If you start to be dedicated as soon as you wake on up, that triggers your mind to focus on every single thing that you are doing in that day time. And you're probably thinking, no, that doesn't make sense. It does, because studies have shown that your body and mind are interlocked. It's almost like the good angel and the bad angel. Your body might be craving one thing, but your mind knows the other, or vice versa. Your body might be saying, no, that's not right to do, but your mind is saying, no, I want to do it. That's called addiction. Okay, so we got the sleep down. We know how much time we need to optimally be at our peak potential. Okay, so we got that down. Check. Then we wake on up as soon as our alarm goes off. We're not hitting the snooze button 5, 6, 27, 19 times. We're just getting up. Okay, so we got that taken care of. Now what do we do to really put our body into high gear? What's the first thing you do after you wake on up? Well, it's either put on a pot of coffee, take a shower, or go to the bathroom. And you're probably going to the bathroom because you're holding all that stuff all evening because you're sleeping between your optimal range, whatever that may be for your individual self. But the tip that I really want to share with you guys to really start on the right day is to rehydrate yourself. Now you're thinking, well, coffee, there's a lot of water in coffee. True, very true. But there's caffeine in coffee. Caffeine is a stimulant that constricts a lot of elements within your body, your blood vessels, your pupils, all that stuff. And it actually pushes water, H2O, out of certain cells within your body structure. So by you drinking water the first thing when you wake on up, you're actually rehydrating your body. Now think of how much water you're losing at night. You're probably like, well, I don't go to the bathroom at night. I'm not really losing any water. Well, actually you are, because when you're breathing, you're exhaling, it's like putting your mouth by a cup. You can see the moisture build up on the outside of the cup. So you're losing moisture there. During your deep sleeping, your mind is working, your eyes are fluttering, your body is always in motion. So your body's always digesting, moving. You're perspiring, you're losing moisture through your skin. There's a lot of ways your body is just getting rid of fluid within your body. Studies have also shown, because I'm doing the studies now, you lose about 1.5 liters of water or fluid, per evening when you go to bed. Now you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of fluid. Well, you got to think of all the elements. Like I said, obviously some are going towards waste. Some is getting used in the digestion process. Others are getting used by you just breathing out, and also too by you sweating, perspiring, tear ducts, all that crazy stuff. You're losing a lot of fluid. So I highly suggest you guys drink water. That is the first thing that you do when you wake on up. That's what I do. And it really, personally, I can see a difference. It gets me not awake, but it gets me in a right state of mind. It just makes me feel like, okay, I'm taking care of my body. Now my body's going to take care of me today. So there you go. That's a little tip about going to bed, waking up refreshed. And we could keep going on this subject for like 25,000 hours, but we're not, because we have 4 other tips to share with you guys. Tip number 2 is called break the wrist and walk away. That is from Napoleon Dynamite. That's a movie. There's a funny scene. A gentleman goes to a taekwondo, karate class, what have you, and the instructor asks a person to come on up and he'll grab my wrist, and he breaks the wrist and walks away. That's a good way to get away from things, intruders or people that are trying to snatch you. But how does that relate to our own personal life? Well, the reason why I enjoy that line is because there's so many distractions in our lives. People ask us to hang out. They want to see a concert. You want to see a movie. Let's go to dinner. Let's do this. Let's go drive around the block in my new car. Let's go check out this new little cool little restaurant, this bar. Oh, hey, did you see that thing on Facebook? You got to look at this YouTube video. Did you hear about that new band that's coming to town? Did you see this? Did you want to travel there? All these distractions that are just driving us nuts, nuts. And this tip really hits home to me because I am very, very swamped. Like I said earlier in the show, I have a lot going on. And to be honest, I have not hung out with my friends. I haven't gone out for drinks. I haven't really done a lot to take up my time in the evening, because this is my time to really work. I got to study for the promotional exam. I have this podcast, the website, and I'm doing a lot of this stuff on my own. It takes time to learn things, and it takes a lot of effort to make something good, So I know personally that I have to push away certain things in my life. And I reflect, and I feel bad that I'm not hanging out with my friends more. I understand how important friends are. I really do enjoy my friends and the group of people that I hang around with. But the thing is, I know the bigger picture. And that's the thing when it comes to your own personal life. Everything you do, if you are searching on the internet, or if you're just talking to somebody on the phone, watching a movie, is it for the big picture? That's how you have to think to yourself. Now, can you, enjoy, splurge every once in a while, maybe have your one movie a week kind of thing because you're a big movie guy or girl? Sure. But you need to think to yourself every time you're just sitting with somebody, or you're just doing this, or you're scanning on YouTube, or just looking at Facebook for hours on end, is this for the bigger picture? Now, it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, I have to be super busy. I have to find all this crazy stuff. Maybe I should start a podcast. Maybe I should start a website. No, but there's issues in your life that you can do better in. Maybe it's fitness, health, understanding yourself, like this podcast. Maybe you want to read more. Maybe you want to go visit with your parents. Maybe they're not doing too well. Maybe visit other things that are very important to you, sacred to you, that you want to spend time at, but you always feel you're too busy. You never have the time. The key is to break the wrist and walk away from things that are not going to help you in your big picture. That's my really kind of a big tip for me, because I understand how tough it is to say no, and it stinks, because you want to be social, you want to be outgoing, you want to meet other people and get out there. But if it's not for the journey that you're supposed to take, I would highly, highly suggest to say no and pass on. And you know what? And when you wake up the next day, you're going to feel like, wow, I accomplished a lot yesterday. I was glad I was able to read those 3 chapters in that book. I learned a lot about this or that, or I'm glad I went to go, hang out with my mom and dad because they're getting up there in age and you never know. So it's just one of those things. You need to prioritize your life. And the line that I like to say is break the wrist and walk away. So next time somebody approaches you and says, hey, let's go see that, Lord of the Rings marathon at the movie theater. They're going to, show all 3 movies in a row, and it takes like 17 hours or whatever it takes. Say, I'm going to break your wrist, and I'm going to walk away. Give that a try. Let me know how that goes for you. So that's my second little tip there. So third number tip, set goals and achieve them. So broad, I could talk about this for hours on end. There's so much data out there. There's so many little tidbits of this is a good way to do it. It's kind of like sleep. You need to know what works for you. And I'm going to break down what I do and what personally works for me. So when it comes to setting goals, I have daily goals, which is kind of my list, kind of like my to-do list. I call that goals because I need to accomplish them. Whatever it is, going to the post office, cutting the grass, food shopping, delivering this, that, or whatever, catching up on emails, whatever it is. That is my list. So we're going to start with daily. When I start formulating this list, I usually formulate it the night before. Like I was stating about getting your sleep. Sometimes when you go to bed, your mind is racing. I always keep a pad of paper and a pen next to the bed, and I write down things that I need to accomplish. Now, why a pad of paper and a pen as opposed to my iPhone or iPad or whatever tablet I have next to me? Well, it's because I know as soon as I log onto that phone, that tablet, whatever, I'm going to be checking email. I'm going to be going on Amazon deals. I'm going to be going on YouTube. I'm going to be checking Facebook one last time. And next thing you know, I'm burning 45 minutes of just useless stuff. So that's why I like to use a pad and paper, old school. Call me old school, call me crazy, whatever you want to do. But that's how I start jotting down the things that I need to do. So when I wake on up, I already have the list in place. It's not I wake up, I drink my water, I go to the bathroom, I eat, and then I formulate my list. My list is already started. So I know the 3 or 4 or 5, 10, whatever things I need to accomplish as soon as I wake up. Your daily list, or goal sheet, will continue to grow throughout the day. So you need to keep up on it. You need to keep it with you. You need to keep glancing at it. And also too, if you feel that devices are appropriate for you, your iPhone or Droid or whatever, make sure you always keep that list with you. So either take a picture of it so you can glance at it throughout the day, or just put it into, your Evernote or to-do lists, or, I think there's an app called Melt, another list that you can use to formulate and accomplish things throughout the day. So that is the daily thing. That's the daily thing that I do every single day. Now, what about weekly? Well, weekly is kind of nice because a week what's going on. This Saturday you have a birthday party or a wedding, or you got to grab lunch with your old friend or a boss or a colleague or somebody on Thursday. You have to get your car, maintenance done on Tuesday. So that's kind of your weekly stuff. And weekly will turn into your daily when you approach that day. But the nice thing about a weekly is it gives you a broad approach of the big things that need to be done. So you can understand your time management in accomplishing those certain tasks. For example, when it comes to health and diet, if I know I am going to be having a wedding, or I'm going to be going camping, or I'm going to be going up north, whatever, I know I'm going to be splurging. I'm going to be drinking adult beverages. I know I'm going to be eating snacks that I usually don't eat. I'm going to be eating ice cream all the time. I'm probably going to be eating brownies for breakfast, whatever it may be. I know during the week, then I'm going to really hold back from the sweets. I know I'm going to really hold back from any extra little treats to myself, because I know come Saturday or Friday night or that lunch, with that colleague or old friend, I know I'm going to splurge. So why not just save and know to yourself, I'm not going to eat a lot today, or I'm not going to eat a lot of sweets today because I'm going to save it for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever it may be. So that's nice when you're trying to handle issues that are coming in your own personal life. And also, too, personally, if you have an addiction per se, whatever it is, I don't want to go into details of this, but it's a nice way to kind of take it 1 week at a time. Sometimes the daily, just take it one day at a time. Well, sometimes you get caught up in that and you're like, well, it's only one day, right? And then you do whatever it is. Well, the key is if you see the whole week, you go, okay, I can last this week. I can last this week. It's almost a bigger picture. It draws out the process a little more, as opposed to that single day. You're going to feel like, well, it's just one day. I mean, there's 364 left in the year. So I highly suggest, setting a list for your daily goals and then your weekly items that you need to take care of, not only socially, but also, for your business or, the things that you're trying to do to improve yourself. Maybe it's to read a book a week, and that I need to read 3 chapters a night to tackle my goal of reading that one book. So in your daily goal sheet lists, or whatever you want to call it, you can put in there, need to read 3 chapters. Okay, so then you can tackle that. So by come Sunday night, you're finishing up on the last 3 chapters and you knocked out a whole book in 1 week. So kind of the same goes for a monthly chart also. Kind of the big things, you can prepare in advance, just setting up your life here. If you have a wedding, you need to get your suit dry cleaned or your dress or whatever, getting things in order. If you have company coming into town, or you have a big project that's due and you need to chunk it out, like myself, I know podcasts, I need to start getting back in the routine of doing them a weekly podcast. So I know I need to prepare well in advance. I need to prepare every single day. I almost need to tackle some little part of a podcast to get myself on schedule. So take those big tasks and break them down, into your weekly or your monthly schedule. And then you got your yearly stuff. The yearly, usually it's a big event. You're going out of town. It might be a convention or for just vacation, or you have a baby getting delivered or whatever it may be. The thing is just to mark it down, so when you are glancing and people do ask you questions, hey, would you like to go to this conference? Hey, would you like to go to this meetup? Hey, would you like to go on this vacation or whatever? You can look and go, no, I got this going on. So it kind of organizes your life. Now, this is simple stuff. I know I'm not telling you anything new. This isn't world renowned. I'm not telling you I invented a thing called the calendar. No, you guys know how to use it best, but I'm just letting you know little tips. Set yourself up for success by making your lists, making them good, solid lists. And then how do we accomplish those lists? Well, we do the hardest thing first. Whatever is on your daily list, knock out first. Maybe it's calling somebody that you're embarrassed to talk to or you're not comfortable talking to. Do it first. Call them, get it over with, done, move on to task number 2. So maybe we'll have a whole nother podcast on that, but I just wanted to share with you guys kind of ways to tackle scheduling your time. So step number 4 is finish projects, okay? I am known to get sidelined. I mean, it's like, oh, a bird, I got to file this paper. Oh, I should just scan it. Oh, let me go on Facebook for a second. Oh, man, it looks like it's going to rain. I got to cut the grass. And then it starts raining. Well, I'm not going to trim. I'll save that for another day. And then you're just doing laundry, doing dishes, not all the way. You put them in the dishwasher, but you forget to start it or whatever. So the thing is, how do we finish projects? Well, the craziest answer is to finish it, period. There is no real strategic, scientific, chemical reaction in your body that reacts with this when you drink this concoction that will make you finish the project. No, you just need to do it, period. Done. So when you start a project, when you start typing that email, don't open another tab. Don't go to your Facebook profile. Don't open your email. Don't answer that phone call. Finish that task. Move on to the next. Somebody interrupted you while you're doing that task. Finish it. Talk to that person. Answer. Return the phone call. Text. Whatever. The key is to stay on track, because if you keep on chunking out little things, you do little things at a time, you keep running around like a crazy man, you're not going to accomplish anything. And then it's going to be 10 o'clock at night. You go, oh, shoot. I forgot to finish that email. It's in my draft box. Well, then you got to run back, out of bed or whatever and finish that thing. So finish your products. Or if you got a product, finish that and then finish your projects. Step number 5 is staying organized. When I interviewed Nate Hosefellow from the Mission Belt Company, him and I chatted. We had some great conversations. The one thing he kind of talks about a lot is not having a lot of clutter around, living a minimalist life, allowing yourself to have an organized space at all times. And as I'm saying this, speaking into this microphone that's on my desk, I'm looking around my office right now, and it is an absolute disaster. I mean, it's kind of crazy how I'm able to get these ideas out here, because I'm like, there's so much stuff going on. There's no method to this madness. It's complete mayhem. having a newborn, a lot of things are out of place. But the thing is, how good does it feel, though, when things are clean? When you come home from a little weekend conference or that meetup and your wife or husband or whoever cleaned up and you go, wow, nice, it looks good. Things are organized, things are put away, all that stuff. There's no junk on the counters. It's kind of nice. You kind of feel calm. You kind of feel like you can tackle your to-do list and feel confident that you can accomplish it. So when you live an organized life, you live an organized mind. The less clutter in your physical space, the less clutter in your mental space. And that is absolutely huge and very true. We all know the benefits of living in a clean house, an organized house. You know where things are. The thing is, though, when you do take out that stapler, when you do open up that notebook, when you do start opening up the pens and the papers and bring out dishes and all that stuff, is to put them back, is to try to, as best as you can, and it's hard for me, I'm horrible at this, is to put them back where you found it so you can keep that space clean at all times. And, it's kind of nice with computers now because the internet, you have email and, all your files are on there, paperworks are online, but every once in a while you start printing stuff off of your printer. It's like a disaster. You got paper all over the place. You got, paper that's stapled together. You have paper that is important, but you don't want to scan it, but you don't know where to put it. So then you just stack it in a pile and it just keeps growing and growing. And then you find you're like, oh, maybe I'll just staple or drill this organized little metal shelving to the wall of my office, and then you just jam that thing full of stuff, so much stuff in there you don't even know what's in there. So the key is to live a minimal approach to life, a minimal approach to the clutter in your mind, and also to an organized life. Keep everything organized. Keep your ducks in line. If you're horrible at it, try just focusing on one room. That's what I realized. I try focusing on the kitchen, because the kitchen, I know when I go in there, I don't want to be distracted by seeing wrappers of these little almond things. I love them. They're like chocolate, blue diamond chocolate covered almonds. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like liquid gold. They're absolutely delicious. But I know if I see that, I'm going to want to dive in. And then when I dive into that, then I'm going to want to dive into something else. And then next thing you know, it's like 20 minutes later and I'm just feeding myself. So the key is to focus on one room if you're horrible like myself. Maybe I should start focusing on my office because it's absolute disaster. So there you go. Those are the 5 tips. So we got, waking up refreshed. We have the breaking the wrist and walking away. We have the setting goals, how to break them down very simply. Finishing, number 4 is finishing projects, not products. And number 5 is living an organized life. So there you go. 5 little quick tips that you guys can implement to your life to kind of start anew. Again, these tips are not mind-blowing. Oh my gosh, Jake, you're a guru of 5 tips. I hope not. But I just want to let you guys know the things that I'm trying to improve on all the time. So these are my 5 go-to tips. I know I need to get my 6.5 hours of sleep to be optimally ready for the day ahead so I can do a good job on these podcasts. I know I need to break the wrist and walk away when it comes time to partying, hanging out with friends, getting distracted. I know if I want to be successful, I have to focus. I need to use my time wisely and put it towards the big picture. Third, I know I need to set my goals. I need a list to look at every single day. If I don't, I'm lost. Personally, that's how I do it. I keep the pad and paper next to the bed so I don't get distracted on the iPhone before going to bed. There's a lot of little things that I try to do to streamline my life and to make sure I hit everything, and I don't miss out on golden opportunities. Like a couple of years ago, I missed out on a conference because I wrote it in the wrong month. I mean, we all do that. But it was just very frustrating to me because that's when I really was like, all right, Jake, you got to focus now. Pay attention to when you're putting this stuff in your calendar. So then that's where I got into the daily, weekly, monthly, yearly approach. I can see things on a broader schedule. And then the last thing, or the fourth thing would be, the finishing of, the projects, just because I'm horrible at that. I know I struggle with finishing things because I get distracted. And that leads into number 5. I get distracted because my life is unorganized. There's junk all over the place. So I know I need to keep a clean office, a clean kitchen, a clean workspace so I can really focus on the task at hand. So there you go. Those are the 5 KISS tips. Keep it simple, stupid tips to kind of get you in a direction of resetting your life. I use these tips, or I found these tips when I was struggling and I was trying to figure out myself. And as you can see, I'm still working on these tips today. So maybe I gotta go back to my own drawing book and try to figure out the best way to handle stuff. I think I got the time down, but the distractions and organization still struggling with. So the key is just to know the problem so you can find and figure out the solution. So there you guys go. So some quick other news on the Operation Self Reset platform here. I have just been picked up by a internet radio station called programyourlife.org. My program, Operation Self Reset, is on there. They kind of play a lot of inspirational, motivational, self-help, self-discovery, kind of shows, and I am like one of 9. They're always going to be expanding to more, so I'm very blessed to have that opportunity. So if you guys do have a chance, if you really do enjoy what I'm speaking about and want to find more, maybe some different people that are speaking on the same topics, feel free to go over to programyourlife.org. It's a great website. Support it and listen to it. You can find some other great resources on there to help transform your life for the better. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say, no, only listen to me, I'm the man. That's not what I'm trying to stand for. There's opportunities to learn all over the place. You and I, because I'm always learning too, we need to find them, we need to implement them in our lives, because there's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of not so good information, but there is a lot of good information. So I would highly suggest going to programyourlife.org, that is programyourlife.org, and check it out. So in conclusion here, guys, I appreciate everything you guys have given to me. I appreciate all the help. I appreciate the comments, the emails, and you guys just listening out there. And if you ever have a comment, if you ever have an issue, you want a question that you need help solving, anywhere, any part of your life, feel free to ask me, email me at support@operationselfreset.com. I'm going to be putting together some time management tips. I keep saying that, so I really got to deliver now. And also, too, some more great interviews to come. I have on the guest Pat Flynn. You guys can check him out at smartpassiveincome.com. I'm going to put that in the show notes. The show notes will be for this episode is operationselfreset.com/podcast 014. There you're going to find everything we talked about on today's podcast, and also too a little video of the gentleman breaking the wrist and walking away. It's pretty funny. I would suggest hopping over there and checking it out. But back to Pat Flynn. He is a personal inspiration to myself. He is the one that gave me the confidence to come on, do a podcast, learn how to do it, set up a blog and all of that stuff. He is the guru of passive income. If you guys want to check him out, I would highly suggest go and look on iTunes. He has a podcast also called Smart Passive Income Podcast. He is an amazing gentleman. He has also a great story. He was actually let go from one of his jobs, and he decided to dabble and do the smart passive income full time, and it's been working really, really well for himself. Great guy, truly, truly just down to earth, honest. And I think you guys are going to get a lot out of what he has to say. So really stay tuned to that. Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income coming on the podcast, and he's kind of a big deal. He's kind of an internet sensation. He travels all around the place doing seminars and speaking, and everybody wants to talk to him because he has done so much, brought some great content, and if you're ever thinking about doing a podcast, starting a website, a blog, whatever, I would highly, highly suggest go check him out. Just let him know Jake from Operation Self Reset sent you over there. So that's it for now, guys. Again, I appreciate everything you've done. If you guys love this podcast or hate it, whatever, go to iTunes, leave a review. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated. And I want to leave you guys with something I did up north, Door County, Wisconsin. I actually hung out with Mike Thornton, the gentleman that was part of SEAL Team 6, one of the original members. He received the Medal of Honor, which is our nation's highest award for a man in active duty. for his actions, what he did in Vietnam. And, sitting around the campfire and talking stories. Well, he was really sharing stories. It was unbelievable. Him and I went to breakfast, and on the way to breakfast, I was asking him, because he's met a lot of very successful people. He's met every president. He's met owners of huge corporations. And I asked him, what's the one thing, what's the recurring thing that you have noticed with successful people? And he goes, Jake, like I told you before, they never give up and you never give up. And I was like, geez. I was like, okay, true. I said, but how do you never give up? He goes, you set goals, and when you reach those goals, you set more goals, and you keep on doing that until you reach every single goal you ever wanted in your life. And I'm like, so true. So that's what I want to leave you with. It's easy to get motivated and get jacked and woo, this is going to be the new me. But it's easy also to kind of fall off of that train and lose interest. But the key is to keep pushing forward and to never give up, no matter what it is. Just guys, please, for your own personal pride, for your family, for your kids, for your friends, for whoever, your wife, your husband, never give up. Never give up for striving for the best within yourself and for everything that's around you. So that's all I have for now, guys. Take care. We will talk to you in the next podcast episode. Thanks again.